Have you ever felt as if the world around you has lost the weight of reality? That subtle perception that there is something more, invisible to the eyes, but screaming to the soul. If you have noticed an unusual sensitivity and a weariness that seems to come from within, know that, in Thoth's view, this is not a system error. It is an indication that your internal frequency is seeking a new level. What many call the transition to the fifth dimension is, in fact, the awakening of your monad, an expansion process that requires clarity and balance. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how to integrate this new understanding without getting lost in the chaos. I'll give you the keys to making this shift in consciousness a powerful movement, not one of exhaustion. Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to reveal is the roadmap to reclaiming your spiritual authority and understanding why your sensitivity is your greatest asset right now. To begin this connection, what's the most unusual feeling you've noticed in your routine lately? Describe your experience in the comments. Your story helps map this collective awakening. There's a subtle tremor happening now, right at the edges of your peripheral vision. Something you feel but can't explain in words because there's no vocabulary for it in everyday life. It's not a change in the scenery outside. The streets and houses remain the same, but there's a glaring internal disarray, as if the gears of the reality you've known all your life have lost their fit and are spinning in vain. You wake up in the morning and look at your bedroom ceiling with a feeling of not belonging, as if you've been transplanted into a movie set overnight, and no one has warned you about the change in script. You get up, go to work, fulfill your obligations, and talk to people. But a persistent feeling of strangeness accompanies you in every interaction, creating an invisible distance between you and the rest of the world. It's the growing and disturbing suspicion that this three-dimensional world, made of effort, bills, and weight, is just a poorly constructed theater set that is beginning to crumble before your eyes. Conversations seem empty. The goals that once motivated you now seem childish and pointless, and you find yourself observing everything like a stranger in your own life. Conventional science completely ignores this phenomenon because it cannot measure it in a laboratory, and traditional medicine tries to quickly label it as stress, anxiety, or depression to sell you a pill that silences the symptom. But deep down you know it's not a mental illness, because your clarity has never been greater, and your perception has never been sharper than now. Ancient wisdom, that which has been kept under lock and key for millennia, has another name for what is happening to your mind now, and states that this is the inevitable beginning of a process of remembering who you really are. This imbalance creates a profound sense of unease because you are, literally, with one foot in each world, trying to balance the density of physical survival with the lightness of a new consciousness that wants to emerge at any cost. It's like trying to tune into an old radio station and hearing two songs playing at the same time, creating a cacophony that leaves your logical mind confused and exhausted, trying to understand what is real. You look at people chasing after money and status and feel an inexplicable urge to laugh, because you intuitively realize that none of that will last or has any real importance. The most disturbing thing about all this isn't the psychological feeling that none of this is real or that you're living in a simulation, but rather the undeniable physical signal your body has begun to emit to prove you're not crazy. Your biological organism is reacting to this change in frequency in a way you never imagined possible, transforming your routine into a daily challenge of adaptation. Your biology is screaming to show you that the change isn't just mental, but cellular, and that every atom of your being is being pressured to change. This internal pressure creates an urgency, a need to seek answers that aren't in textbooks or on television news, pushing you into a solitary and profound search for meaning. You begin to realize you can no longer go back to sleep, that once you've seen the flaw in the matrix, It's impossible to unsee it and pretend everything is normal as before. The old life, with its predictable and comfortable rules, is dissolving like sugar in water, and you're left without a foundation, floating in a new and unknown space. And when you think you're just mentally confused, the process descends to the physical level with a brutality that throws you into bed without warning. The energy you previously used to maintain your social mask is being drained into something much larger and more complex happening behind the scenes in your body. Prepare yourself, because the next symptom will make you question whether you still have the strength to stand, as the planet's gravity seems to have doubled in intensity specifically on your shoulders. Suddenly, an overwhelming fatigue takes over every muscle in your body. But don't be fooled into thinking it's just ordinary sleepiness that can be resolved with a good night's sleep or a relaxing weekend. It's an exhaustion of the soul, an unbearable weight of maintaining an identity, a job, or a social position that no longer resonates with who you truly are, and that consumes all your vital energy. You drag yourself through the day as if wearing a lead suit, feeling that every movement requires a Herculean effort that doesn't match the simplicity of the tasks you're performing. The three-dimensional world operates on the logic of solid, dense matter, and trying to maintain this mask of everything is fine has become a physical burden that drains your vital energy in a matter of minutes. Dolores Cannon, one of the leading researchers of this phenomenon, called it the detachment of the old earth, a mechanical process where its vibration is becoming too fast for a world that still rotates slowly and heavily. It's like trying to run ultra-modern software on a 1990s computer. The system overheats, crashes, and requires you to shut everything down to avoid a complete breakdown. You feel like you're inhabiting two places at once, pulled upwards by your soul and pulled downwards by physical reality. And gravity seems to have chosen you as the main target to test your limits of resistance. People ask you if you're ill because dark circles appear under your eyes and your vital light seems to fluctuate, but your medical exams keep coming back normal, which further increases your frustration and feeling of isolation. Sleeping 12 hours straight doesn't solve the problem, because the work being done in your body doesn't stop when you close your eyes. In fact, it's during sleep that the energetic surgery intensifies. This extreme fatigue is not a sign of illness or weakness. It is, in fact, the necessary side effect of a massive biological metamorphosis that is rewriting your DNA while you sleep and breathe. Your body needs to shut down external systems to redirect all available energy to the internal construction of new neural pathways and new light receptors. It's like a complete renovation of a house you're still living in. There's dust, noise, and discomfort everywhere. And often the only thing you can do is stay quiet and wait for the work to progress. The heaviness you feel is literally the density of carbon leaving your system, the release of old traumas and cellular memories that were stored in your tissues and now need to go to make way for the new. You may feel like crying for no reason, just to release this internal pressure, or feel that your legs can barely support you after a simple, banal social interaction. The universe is forcibly putting you on hold because you wouldn't stop on your own. And this pause is vital for the successful completion of your system's upgrade. Accepting this fatigue is the hardest part for a mind trained to produce and be useful all the time, but fighting against it only prolongs the process and increases physical and emotional pain. You need to understand that you are being recalibrated to a much higher voltage, and if you continued running at the old speed, your internal circuits would burn out irreparably. It's a protective process, a conscious hibernation while your wings are being formed inside the dense cocoon of physical matter. But this exhaustion is just the foundation, the groundwork laid for even stranger and more specific symptoms that will start popping up in places on your body you didn't even know could hurt. Your biology is changing, your blood chemistry is altering, and this will generate such bizarre and specific physical sensations that you'll start to doubt your own sanity if you don't know exactly what's happening inside your bones right now. Have you ever noticed joint pain that shifts location without medical explanation, migrating from the knee to the shoulder and then to the hip in a matter of days or hours? Sudden dizziness that makes the world spin when you're standing still, or a sharp, persistent ringing in the ear that appears precisely when absolute silence should reign in the environment. What most people rush to treat with anti-inflammatory drugs is, in fact, the oldest and most powerful alchemy in the universe, happening in real time within their cells. Carbon, the dense, dark basis of our three-dimensional human biology, is being intensely pushed to give way to a silicon-based structure, much more crystalline and capable of conducting light. It is the painful, yet absolutely magnificent, birth of the light body, a structure capable of processing data and energies that would overwhelm a conventional nervous system. Your system is being forcibly upgraded to withstand a new electromagnetic frequency, and your physical body, which has always been dense, is screaming under the pressure of this radical and invasive change. Bone and joint pain is a direct result of this expansion, as if your skeleton were growing and stretching to accommodate more energy than it was originally designed to hold. Tinnitus is not a hearing defect. It's your hearing ability trying to tune into frequencies beyond the normal human spectrum, like a radio searching for a new station. You may feel sudden waves of heat rising up your spine or heart palpitations that come and go without being linked to any real physical exertion. Doctors look at your test results and say, "You're the picture of health," which confuses you even more because you clearly feel like you've been run over by an invisible truck overnight. It's a reconfiguration of your central nervous system, which is learning to handle much higher information voltages without completely short-circuiting. The crystalline structure that is forming is necessary so that you can act as a receiver and transmitter of the new frequencies that are currently bathing the planet. Often you will feel your skin vibrating or static electricity running through your arms and legs, sensations that indicate intense activity happening beneath the surface. It is crucial to drink plenty of water and rest, as water conducts this electricity and facilitates the elimination of toxins released by the burning of old, dense cellular material. Your body is the hero of this story, enduring a transformation that, in other times, would have taken hundreds of lifetimes to complete, but which is now accelerated in just a few years. Don't be afraid of these sensations, however uncomfortable they may be, because they are living proof that you are progressing and that your physical body is being prepared for the next phase of human evolution. Every pain, every dizziness, every ringing in the ears is a brick being laid in the construction of your new temple, a body capable of living free from the limitations of disease and premature aging. The Thoth Code, it talks specifically about how to manage these pains and physical changes, helping you to anchor this new energy with complete balance. The link is right below in the first pinned comment. But if you think these physical pains are strange, they are absolutely nothing compared to what is beginning to happen now with your perception of temporal reality. Look at the clock now and try to understand what's happening, because the feeling that the hours are melting and slipping through your fingers isn't just your imagination or a lack of organization. In the third dimension, time was a solid linear prison, a relentless countdown that pushed us from birth to death in a straight, predictable line. But something fundamental broke along that line, and the rigid structure that held the past, present, and future in separate boxes is completely dissolving in your daily perception. Moments that should last hours pass in minutes that blink and vanish, while seconds of inspiration or contemplation seem to expand and last for eternities, defying all the mathematical logic we have learned. you are crossing the ultimate threshold into kairos, the Greek concept for the time of the soul, where everything happens in an eternal now and chronological sequence ceases to make sense. This severe temporal disorientation is the ultimate proof that your consciousness is unanchoring itself from the fourth dimension and learning to navigate the vastness of the present. The past begins to seem like a distant, faded film you watched long ago, losing its emotional impact and the ability to define or hurt you as it once did. The future, in turn, becomes an impenetrable fog, preventing you from making long-term, detailed plans, forcing you to live and deal only with what is in front of you at this very moment. This generates initial anxiety for the controlling mind, but soon transforms into an intoxicating freedom, as you realize that the only place where life happens is here and now. You make appointments and forget what day it is, or you wake up certain it's Friday when it's still Tuesday, living in a continuous flow where the days of the week lose their hierarchical importance. This break in linearity destroys anxiety at its root, because anxiety needs the future to exist, and when the future becomes irrelevant, only the power of present action remains. It's as if you were floating on a river where the banks of time have disappeared, and only the water flowing around you exists. Short-term memory can fail. You enter a room and forget what you were doing there, not because you have dementia, but because your mind is no longer holding linear information in the same rigid way. You are learning to access information when you need it, instead of carrying it like a heavy file on your back all the time. It's a new, much more efficient data processing operating system, but one that requires you to trust that the information will come at the exact moment, without the need for prior storage. And it is precisely this shift in the perception of time and this experience in the absolute present moment that will create an insurmountable chasm between you and the people who still live, trapped by the clock and the rush. Your new speed, or lack thereof, will begin to bother those who live in the rat race, and this will force you to take drastic and painful actions in relation to your social circle. Prepare yourself, because your new vibrational state is about to automatically clean up your contact list. From one moment to the next, things and people you tolerated or even liked suddenly become unbearable, generating a physical revulsion that you can't control or disguise. Violent movies, sensationalist news, songs with degrading lyrics, and even banal conversations with old friends begin to cause real physical discomfort, almost a nausea that churns your stomach. It's not arrogance on your part, nor a moral judgment of superiority. It's a purely technical, biological, and energetic defense mechanism. Your energy system, now refined like a high-precision crystal, acts as a sensitive radar that detects frequencies of fear, anger, and gossip as if they were lethal viruses trying to invade your system. Your body reacts by repelling everything and everyone that vibrates at a low frequency, creating an invisible barrier that prevents you from remaining in environments or interactions that drain your newfound light. You try to be polite, you try to keep up appearances, but the urge to run away from these places becomes stronger than any social convention or etiquette. You may feel isolated and lonely at first, thinking you are losing the ability to socialize or that you are becoming an antisocial and grumpy hermit. But this isolation is actually a strictly necessary spiritual quarantine to protect the seed of new consciousness that is germinating within you and which is still fragile. Because without this silence and without this distancing from external noise, you would never be able to hear the new voice that is trying to emerge from within you. People naturally begin to distance themselves from you, or create silly conflicts that serve as an excuse for breaking up, because your vibration disturbs the demons and shadows they carry and don't want to deal with. It's a magnetic cleansing where the universe removes from your path everything that could hinder your ascension process, even if that includes family members or childhood friends. It hurts to see these people go, but soon you realize the relief and lightness that remain in the empty space they left in your life. You begin to prefer the company of a book, a tree, or even silence itself, rather than being at noisy parties where the energy is dense and confusing. This period of solitude is fundamental for you to stabilize your new frequency without the constant interference of other people's chaotic energy fields. It's a time to recharge, to get to know yourself again, and to discover what truly makes you happy, far from the impositions and expectations of others. Don't fight against this distance, and don't try to force connections that have already died energetically, because that will only bring you suffering and delay your journey. Loneliness is only temporary and serves to clear the ground so that new connections, based on the soul and truth, can reach you at the right time. And it is precisely when you accept this silence and stop fighting against isolation that you begin to perceive a new form of magical communication happening around you. When the deafening noise of the outside world finally ceases and you surrender to the process, the impossible begins to happen in your routine with an astonishing and wonderful frequency. You think of someone you haven't seen in years, and about 1 minute later, that person calls or texts you. You need an answer to a problem, and it appears written on a giant billboard or on a car license plate in front of you. What were once just curious coincidences now reveal themselves as the native and fluent language of the 5th dimension operating in your life. The temporal distance between your thought and the physical manifestation of that thought in reality has drastically collapsed, proving that you are directly connected to the control panel. These synchronicities function like a high-precision cosmic GPS, flashing lights to confirm that you have entered the divine flow and are in the right place at the right time. It is conclusive proof that reality is not fixed and rigid, but malleable and plastic, directly obeying the quality of your vibration and your intention. You begin to play with the universe, asking for signs and receiving almost instantaneous answers, which increases your faith and dissolves the fear of scarcity or abandonment. Repeated numbers like 11, 11, 22, 22, or 333 begin to haunt you everywhere, on the clock, on receipts, on license plates, like activation codes that the universe sends to your subconscious. Each synchronicity is a small miracle that reminds you that you are not alone, that there is a loving intelligence orchestrating every detail of your existence. But be careful not to get lost in the wonder of these phenomena, because seeing these signs is only the beginning of the game, and not the final goal of the journey. They are guiding you, like breadcrumbs in an enchanted forest, towards the central and most impactful discovery of all. They are leading you to understand the cause, the unmoved engine that generates all these changes and explains why you were chosen to go through this now. Synchronicity is the universe winking at you, telling you that the barrier between the physical and spiritual worlds has become so thin that it is almost non-existent. You realize that your thoughts are commands, that your emotions are fuel, and that your life is a blank canvas ready to be painted. Responsibility increases because you understand that you can no longer afford to think negatively or to play the victim, since the universe's response is immediate. This direct communication prepares you to understand the geometric and mathematical structure that sustains everything that exists, the secret that the ancient Pythagoreans kept under lock and key. All of this, the pain, the crazy times, the isolation, and the coincidences, converge on a single point of origin, a truth that will forever change how you see yourself in the mirror. Prepare to discover the source of all sacred geometry that dwells within your heart. Here is the master key that connects all physical symptoms, distorted time, social isolation, and magical synchronicities into a single point of absolute coherence. You are accessing the frequency of the monad. This is the primordial concept that humanity has forgotten and been forced to forget. The divine point of origin where all the geometry of the universe is born and expands. The monad is not something external to you. It is the supreme unity, the original God particle that resides at the center of your being and is now awakening from its millennial slumber. It's not just about thinking positively or being a good person according to society's moral standards. It's about a biological and energetic alignment with the primary source of creation. By tapping into this sacred frequency, you overcome the tiresome duality of good and evil, right and wrong, and enter into the perception of total unity. You cease to be an isolated and frightened fragment struggling for survival in a hostile world and realize, with crystal clarity, that you are a living, conscious cell of a gigantic cosmic organism. The monad is your unique spiritual signature, your divine barcode containing all the information about who you are, where you came from, and where you are going. Accessing it instantly reorganizes inner chaos, as the light of unity leaves no room for the shadows of doubt or fear to exist. You have found the gateway to true life, the one the ascended masters always spoke of, but which seemed unattainable to us mere mortals. Knowing that the door exists and seeing it open before you is a wonderful thing. But crossing it and remaining on the other side requires a commitment that goes far beyond intellectual comprehension. Your biological and energetic structure needs to be sustained daily so as not to fall back into the heavy density of the third dimension that is always trying to pull you back down. The awakening of the monad is an invitation, but remaining in that elevated frequency is a choice that must be renewed with every breath. You now understand that everything that happened, the tiredness, the pain, the loneliness, was merely preparing the ground so that this divine seed could sprout without being choked by the weeds of the ego. You are the sacred chalice being cleansed and polished to receive the wine of new consciousness, and this process is irreversible and glorious. But to keep this chalice full and overflowing, you will need to radically change how you nourish this new body of light, because the old fuel is no longer sufficient for the powerful machine you have become. Your body isn't just changing shape or bone structure. It's fundamentally switching the type of fuel it needs to function in this new reality. Suddenly, that heavy food, red meat, processed foods, or foods loaded with chemical additives that you've always eaten, starts to hit you like a lead weight in your stomach. This isn't a moral decision about eating animals or a fad diet you saw online. It's a violent and uncontrollable biological rejection. Your new crystalline system, which is becoming more subtle every day, simply can no longer process the extreme density of these industrial toxins without drastically lowering your vibration and causing immediate physical pain. The body reacts with inflammation, sudden fatigue, and a feeling of heaviness that lasts for hours, clearly signaling that that type of energy is no longer compatible with the new hardware being installed in you. You begin to feel a different kind of hunger, almost a cellular thirst, an instinctive need for foods containing life and water, such as fresh fruits, raw vegetables, and plenty of pure water. It's as if your palate is being reset to its original pattern, rejecting the artificial and desperately seeking what comes directly from the earth and the sun. The body is learning a new technology, extracting energy directly from prana, the invisible life force that permeates the universe, making the need for those gigantic and heavy meals increasingly obsolete in your routine. You realize you eat less, but feel more energy, as long as the food is light and high vibration, functioning like a solar battery that recharges with light and not just with the burning of dense calories. This dietary change isn't just about digestion, it's about mental clarity. Dense foods create a fog in the brain that prevents connection with the higher frequencies you're trying to access. When you heed this call from your body and change your diet, Electricity flows freely through your meridians, and that chronic fatigue begins to disappear, giving way to a clean vitality. You are becoming lighter, literally, losing the density that anchored you to the gravity of the third dimension, preparing your biology to float to the next stage of evolution. Water becomes your best friend, as it is the main conductor of electrical information arriving from the cosmos and being downloaded into your DNA. However, this inner purification brings a social side effect that can be difficult to manage, as food is central to much of our human and family interaction. You go to a dinner party and can't eat what everyone else is eating, or you refuse the alcohol that used to entertain you. And this starts to generate strange looks and comments about you becoming boring or fanatical. It's a lonely moment where you have to choose between pleasing others and feeling unwell afterward, or honoring your body and patiently enduring the judgment of others. You are learning to nourish yourself with light, and this is incomprehensible to those who still live dependent on dense matter to feel satisfied. The physical body is becoming a real temple, not in a religious sense, but in the functional sense of a sacred space that needs to be cleansed to house an expanded consciousness. Every time you choose a fruit instead of a processed, industrialized food, you are sending a clear signal to your cells that you are ready to accelerate the crystallization process. Density leaves through the pores, through breathing, and through changes in habits, leaving you with a feeling of transparency and lightness you have never felt before. It is the final preparation of the vehicle, the fine-tuning of the engine before accelerating on the road to new consciousness. But while your body is purifying itself and becoming radiant, your social and emotional life is about to suffer a violent seismic shock that no one warned you would come with such force. The change in your vibrational frequency creates a chasm between you and people who are not in the same process, and quantum physics guarantees that dissonant frequencies cannot occupy the same space for very long. Prepare yourself, because the universe is about to clean up your contact list, and this will require an emotional courage from you that you didn't even know you had. This is the exact point in the journey where many almost give up, not because of the physical difficulty, but because it hurts emotionally to see the reality we knew crumbling before our eyes. As your frequency stabilizes and settles in the fifth dimension, the inevitable phenomenon that researcher Dolores Cannon called the separation of the lands or the bifurcation of worlds occurs. People you love deeply, friends of decades who know all your secrets, jobs that seemed perfect and secure. All of this begins to move away from you with frightening speed. There aren't necessarily fights, arguments, or big soap opera dramas. Just an absolute and sudden lack of magnetic resonance that makes coexistence almost impossible. It's like trying to mix oil and water in a glass. You can stir as much as you want, but as soon as you stop, they will naturally separate because their densities are incompatible. You vibrate at an accelerated speed of love and truth, while they still vibrate at the density of fear, gossip, and competition. And this difference creates a force field that repels each other. The universe, in its pragmatic wisdom, is clearing your energy field so that the new can enter, removing everything that serves as an anchor and holds you back in the old reality. But the vacuum left by these departures, the silence on the phone, and the empty chair on Sunday can seem frightening and devastating at the beginning of the process. You may feel a huge temptation to lower your vibration on purpose, to revert to acting as you did before, just to keep those people around and not feel so alone in the world. However, don't make the fatal mistake of chasing after what's gone, or trying to shrink yourself to fit into boxes that have become too small for your expanded soul. This empty space that has formed in your life is vital and strategic, because it is the fertile ground where new connections, those that truly resonate with who you are now, will flourish in due time. If you fill this space with the old out of fear of loneliness, You block the flow of renewal and delay your own evolution, creating a cycle of unnecessary suffering. Often, long-term romantic relationships end abruptly because one partner decided to awaken and the other chose to remain asleep in the illusion of material things. This doesn't make one better than the other. It simply places them on different learning paths that, for now, no longer cross on the same road. It's necessary to let go with love, to be grateful for the time shared, and to understand that each soul has its own time for maturation, and you can't force anyone into the light. Respect for the other's free will is the greatest proof of love you can give at this moment of separation, allowing each to follow the path they chose before being born. The solitude you feel now is not a punishment. It's a spiritual retreat the universe has provided for you to discover who you are without the influence of others' opinions. It is in the silence of this withdrawal that your true inner voice gains strength and clarity, preparing you for much richer and more genuine future interactions. You will realize that, by letting go of what no longer serves you, a feeling of relief and freedom begins to emerge, replacing the fear of loss with trust in the cosmic order. The no that the universe says to certain people in your life is ash, in fact, a yes to your own happiness and spiritual integrity. This cleansing process is a guarantee that you are moving forward, because if everything continued as before, it would mean that you are still stagnant at the same frequency as always. Accept the flow, cry if you need to, but stay firm in your new vibration, because what is coming your way is much better than what was left behind. And the most incredible thing is that by clearing the ground of old ego-based connections, you open space for a new sensory capacity to emerge. This empty space is about to be filled by a superpower of perception that will radically change the way you see and feel every human being on Earth. When the dust of separation finally settles and you stop fighting against the social cleansing that has occurred, an unexpected superpower emerges: absolute and visceral empathy. The persistent illusion that you are an isolated island, separated from everything and everyone by a barrier of skin and ego, simply disappears from your mental perception. Suddenly, you can feel the pain, joy, anguish, and hope of the other, as if they were happening inside your own chest, but without the weight of the emotional drama that used to bring you down. It's not just imagining how the other feels. It's a direct energetic experience, a data transfer that allows you to understand the other's journey in a fraction of a second. You look at a stranger on the street, someone you've never seen before, and you intuitively know that they are simply another version of yourself living a different experience in a different body. Judgment, which was once a constant tool of the mind to classify who was good or bad, dies from lack of logic, because judging the other would be the same as judging yourself. Competition becomes ridiculous and obsolete, because how can you compete with your own hand or try to be better than your own foot? This direct energetic perception of unity dissolves selfishness at its root, because you understand, not intellectually, but with your entire nervous system, that we are all connected in the same web. Hurting another, whether with words, actions, or thoughts, becomes an impossible act, because you instantly feel the impact of the blow in your own energy field, realizing it's an act of self-flagellation. The Golden Rule ceases to be a religious commandment imposed from the outside in, and becomes a law of physics that you experience firsthand every day. You begin to treat the waiter, the businessman, and the homeless person with the same level of reverence and respect, because you see the same divine spark, the same monad, shining behind the social masks of each one. This spiritual X-ray vision allows you to navigate the world with a compassion that disarms the defenses of those around you. The internal war between you and them ends, and a profound peace settles in, because you no longer need to protect yourself or attack to secure your place in the world. You realize that each person who crosses your path brings a message, a reflection of something you need to learn or heal within yourself, transforming each interaction into an opportunity for growth. Expanded empathy connects you with nature and animals in a new way, where you feel life pulsating in the trees and creatures as part of your own extended family. The world ceases to be a hostile and cold place and becomes a living, conscious organism of which you are a vital cell. This profound connection eliminates existential loneliness, because even when you are physically alone in a room, you feel the vibrant presence of the entire universe keeping you company. You understand that separation was merely a necessary dream for individual experience, but that awakening is the return to the consciousness of the whole. The way you do business, how you relate to your family, and how you treat the planet changes drastically, because now all your actions stem from the premise of interconnectedness. You become an agent of healing simply by being present, radiating this unconditional acceptance that people so desperately seek. And it is precisely when you stop fighting against the world and accept this fundamental unity that the universe gifts you with the most addictive and powerful feeling that exists. The end of resistance to the flow of life opens the floodgates to an energy that was dammed up by fear and isolation. Get ready, because the next stage is not about understanding or feeling the other, but about being invaded by a wave of happiness that doesn't depend on absolutely anything external to exist. Imagine washing dishes on a typical Tuesday, or walking to the bakery to buy bread, and suddenly feeling an overwhelming and inexplicable wave of happiness run down your spine. Without winning the lottery, without getting a promotion, without finding the love of your life, just a state of pure, crystalline grace exploding from within without warning. This isn't a fleeting moment of manic euphoria. It's the brilliance of the monad, your divine essence, finally piercing the dense veil of your personality and flooding your nervous system with the soul's original frequency. The fear that has been your faithful and constant companion for years simply evaporates before this light, like mist under the midday sun. An unwavering certainty that everything is right, safe, and in its proper place fills your heart, dissolving any anxiety about the future or regret about the past. In the fifth dimension, joy is not a reward you earn after much effort or suffering. Joy is your natural state, the factory default of your soul that was hidden by layers of trauma and limiting beliefs. You realize that you have spent your entire life searching for external reasons to be happy, when happiness has always been the substance of which you are made. These flashes of ecstasy begin to happen more frequently, lasting minutes or even hours, transforming the most mundane routine into a sacred and vibrant experience. You find yourself smiling at nothing, feeling immense gratitude simply for breathing and existing. And those around you might even find this newfound, seemingly unmotivated glow strange. Problems that once kept you awake at night now seem small and manageable because you observe them from this elevated platform of inner contentment. It's as if you found life's volume control and, for the first time, are hearing the music with perfect clarity, without the static of drama and mental chaos. This state of Ananda, as the Hindus call it, is the ultimate sensory proof that you've arrived, that the frequency transition was successful. This ecstatic energy acts like high-octane fuel, allowing you to create, work, and love with a power that would have been impossible in the old state of survival. You no longer need to fight to live. You flow with existence, and life responds by bringing synchronicities and ease that confirm your alignment. The feeling of emptiness, that hole in your chest that you tried to fill with shopping, food, or relationships, disappears completely because you are full of yourself, full of your own light. It is spiritual self-sufficiency at its highest level, where you share your happiness with the world not to receive something in return, but because you are overflowing. However, living in this constant state of grace amidst a world that still operates on fear and scarcity is a technical challenge that demands attention. These peak moments are glimpses of the new reality, but to make them permanent, you need to learn to stabilize this frequency in your daily life. The gravity of the old world, with its bad news, complaints, and density, will try to pull you back down to earth in the blink of an eye if you're not careful. Maintaining this state isn't magic. It's quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. You need to understand that this joy is precious and must be protected like a flame amidst the strong winds of collective unconsciousness. The universe has given you a taste of paradise so that you know what you are fighting for and where you are going. But remaining there depends on your mastery. Be careful, because euphoria can distract you, and maintaining this state requires you to master the most powerful tool of creation, the one that defines what is real and what is illusion in your personal experience. The physical reality you see and touch isn't fixed like a rock. It's malleable like fresh clay in the hands of your consciousness, responding instantly to the focus of your attention. Quantum physics has already proven this with the observer effect, but here we'll apply it in practice. You are the projector of the film of your life, and the world outside is just the blank screen where the film is displayed. When you focus your attention on fear, lack of money, or illness, you collapse the wave of quantum possibilities in the third dimension, solidifying exactly what you fear. Most people live reacting to the screen, trying to clean the stain on the wall instead of cleaning the projector lens, which is a losing and exhausting battle. When you take control and choose to focus on confidence, abundance, and light, the physical world has no choice but to magnetically reorganize itself around you to reflect this new choice. The observer's role is fundamental and active, not passive. It is through your conscious gaze that you select, from infinite possibilities, which version of reality you will experience today. Being in the fifth dimension does not mean escaping planet Earth or living in an alienated bubble. It means walking through this world knowing that matter is merely condensed energy awaiting your vibrational command. You walk through chaos, but you do not belong to it, because you know you can alter your experience by changing the frequency of your observation. This is true mastery, watching where you place your attention with the surgical precision of a sharpshooter, refusing to waste your focus on disaster scenarios that the mind loves to create. If a crisis arises, instead of focusing on the problem and amplifying it, you focus on the solution and stability, and observe how the situation resolves itself in almost miraculous ways. You stop feeding the monsters of your mind, and without your attention, they starve and disappear from your reality. It's a constant mental training, minute by minute, of shifting your focus away from what you don't want and putting all the power of your being into what you want to create. You realize that your complaints were negative prayers that the universe readily answered. And now you use your words and thoughts only to build, bless, and give thanks. Victimhood becomes impossible because you know you are solely responsible for what is being projected on your screen, assuming total authority over your life. The external world may be falling apart, but if your inner observer is firmly at peace, your personal reality will be one of peace and protection. This is the key to navigating the planetary transition without being swept away by the current of collective fear. However, this ability to maintain focus requires energy and discipline, as the brain's old programming is addicted to seeking danger and negativity out of survival instinct. You need to train the observer like you train a muscle at the gym, repeating the process of conscious choice thousands of times until it becomes automatic. And to ensure you don't miss the target and lose control right at the start of the day, there's a specific and sacred protocol that must be followed. How you begin your morning defines the quality of your observer for the next 24 hours, and that's where the battle is won. The battle for your vibrational frequency and control of your reality is irrevocably won or lost in the first 5 minutes after you open your eyes in the morning. That precious, fleeting moment between deep sleep and full wakefulness is a magical portal where your brainwaves are still in theta, a highly suggestible and creative state. If the first thing you do is grab your phone, check emails, see bad news, or browse social media, you've lost the battle before even getting out of bed, surrendering your power to the outside world. You've allowed other people's agendas and the chaos of the world to invade your mental sanctuary, programming your day for reactivity and stress. The secret of the masters is to use this transitional brain state to consciously declare your intention and set your internal GPS to the desired frequency. Before putting your feet on the ground, while still lying down, declare to yourself, "I choose to operate from love, unity, and divine flow today, and nothing will take away my peace." Place your physical hand on your heart and feel the beat, the biological connection with life, breathing deeply to anchor this presence in your body. You are not praying to a distant God sitting in the clouds. You are activating the inner divinity, the monad that already inhabits the 5D state within your cells. Visualize a column of light descending upon you and filling every pore, creating a force field that will accompany you throughout the day, shielding your energy. This simple act of morning alignment creates an impenetrable shield of light that allows you to navigate the densities of traffic, work, and difficult people without losing your connection to the source. It's like putting on a spacesuit before venturing into a hostile environment. You are protected and internally replenished, regardless of what happens outside. Program your mind to look for miracles, to see beauty, and to find ease, and your reticular activating system will obey, filtering reality to show you exactly that. This ritual doesn't need to take an hour. 5 minutes of intensity and true presence are worth more than hours of distracted, mechanical meditation. Consistency is key. Doing this every day reprograms your subconscious so that the state of connection becomes your new normal, not an exception. You'll notice that the days you do the ritual flow with an astonishing smoothness, while the days you skip it feel stuck and full of friction. It's the difference between setting sail with the sail adjusted to the wind or rowing against the tide. Effort is optional when you know how to align yourself. By taking charge of your morning, you declare to the universe that you are the ultimate authority over your experience, not a victim of circumstances or the moods of others. The empowering feeling this brings is immediate, putting you in the driver's seat of your life from the very first second of the day. But remember, the shield needs constant maintenance and vigilance because the chaos of daily life is persistent and will test your patience and focus like never before. As soon as you step out the door, the world will try to bite you, and you will need to be ready to act as a fierce guardian of your own light. The world out there is still predominantly running in the chaos and density of the 3rd dimension, and it will inevitably try to bite you and drag you back into the drama. Traffic jams, a grumpy boss, an unexpected bill to pay, a family member who knows exactly which button to push to irritate you. These are all energetic baits. Your priority, more important than your job or social obligations, is to act as a relentless and vigilant sentinel of your own energy and vibrational state. The exact moment you feel the stress rising, your stomach tightening, or anger knocking at the door, you need to stop everything immediately. Instantly recognize that this emotional reaction is a shadow of the old reality trying to lure you back into the cycle of suffering and unconsciousness. Take a deep breath, pause strategically, and categorically refuse the invitation to lower your vibration and enter the frequency of conflict or fear. It's not about denying practical problems or pretending they don't exist. It's about solving them from a state of calm and clarity, without getting energetically dirty with the mud of the situation. You learn to look at chaos as a detached observer, thinking, "This is interesting, but it's not mine," keeping your energetic integrity intact. The exercise of returning to the center, of breathing and choosing the frequency of love again, hundreds of times a day if necessary, is what truly consolidates the dimensional transition. Every time you don't react, every time you choose peace instead of reason, you are strengthening the muscle of your new consciousness and weakening the old neural pathways. You become a living antenna, a pillar of light that anchors the frequency of the fifth dimension in the midst of the storm, calming the environment around you simply with your stable presence. People will feel this stability and, unconsciously, will come down near you, because your magnetic coherence organizes their chaos. This loving vigilance requires you to be brutally honest with yourself, admitting when you've gone off track and correcting course without judging or blaming yourself for the slip. Falling is normal. The secret lies in how quickly you get up and return to alignment with your monad. You stop wasting vital energy on pointless arguments, trying to prove your point, or trying to control the uncontrollable, saving that strength to create the life you desire. Your energy becomes the most valuable currency you possess, and you stop spending it on those who don't deserve it, or on situations that lead nowhere. And why so much effort, so much discipline, and so much constant self-vigilance? Because the ultimate destination of this journey is not merely to have a better or calmer life here on earth. The goal is something your soul has desperately sought for millennia, through hundreds of incarnations and experiences. All this sentinel work is guiding you toward the great reunion, the final memory that closes the cycle of human experience and opens the doors to eternity. Everything we have experienced and discussed so far, the physical pain, the painful loss of friends, the radical change in diet and perception, was merely preparation for this unique and sacred moment, the complete remembrance of who you truly are. The ascension to the fifth dimension is not a journey to a new and distant place in space. It is, in fact, a return to your original home. It is awakening from a long, confused, and often painful dream of separation, to discover with relief that you never, at any moment, left the source or were abandoned by it. The monad has fully awakened within the human structure, merging heaven and earth into a single conscious being. The new earth, so often spoken of and prophesied, is not a different planet that will magically appear in the sky to save us. It is this earth here and now, but perceived through eyes that finally see the truth behind the illusion. When you change, the world changes, and you begin to see paradise where before you only saw problems, finding beauty and sacredness in every leaf, in every face, and in every breath. The final and definitive sign that the journey is complete does not come from spaceships or trumpets playing in the clouds, but from a deep, solid, and sacred silence that settles in the center of your heart. It is a soundless voice that says, with absolute and tranquil authority, "The search is over. I am. There is nothing more to search for outside, no more gurus to follow, no more techniques to learn, because you have become the way, the truth, and the life." The anxiety of getting there disappears, because you realize that you are already there and always have been, only distracted by the play of shadows on the cave wall. Life ceases to be a test or a school of suffering and becomes a conscious work of art, a cosmic dance where you are, at the same time, the dancer and the music. You walk through the world as a living master, not because you possess magical movie powers, but because you have the real power to choose love in every situation, transforming lead into gold through your presence. Death loses its sting and fear loses its reign. For you know that you are eternal, and that this human experience is only a brief chapter in your infinite existence. You become a point of light that illuminates the path for others, not through preaching or persuasion, but through the example of a life lived in integrity, joy, and fullness. And now, with your memory restored and your heart open, true life can finally begin, free from the shackles of the past and the worries of the future. You are free to create, to love, and to explore the universe from a perspective of abundance and total connection. The veil has fallen, the illusion has vanished, and what remains is the pure, indestructible, and magnificent reality of your divine self experiencing itself in human form. Welcome back home. If you felt the calling from this video and want to see our mission continue, the most beautiful way to support us is through an exchange of energy. We've prepared the ebook, The Thoth Code, to give you the heart of our knowledge about mental alchemy and vitality. By acquiring this material, you're not just buying a book, you're making a real contribution to ensuring this channel doesn't stop. It's our deepest knowledge in your hands in exchange for the breath we need to continue awakening consciousness. The link is in the first pinned comment. Immense gratitude for your help.